I want to start where we started episode 9 with Reggie Miller saying, "You don't talk bleep to Black Jesus." What was it like talking to Reggie about his relationship with Jordan and this particular series?
I think that Reggie's feelings on Michael border between reverence and frustration. He's got the utmost respect for Michael. It's clear when you speak with him as a competitor and as a winner. But frustration, and Jalen can speak to this too, the guys that Michael kept from that mountaintop in the 90s, if you put together a squad of those guys, you're talking about an all-time, that's a dream team right there of non-Bulls who didn't get even a chance at the finals, let alone a chance at a ring. Because that East in the 90s, as we all know, was ferocious. And the Bulls were able to stave off so much of this competition. So it took us a while to get Reggie. We called and emailed and called. And finally he agreed to sit down. I don't know if he just wasn't getting those calls or if he was avoiding them or what, but he gave a great interview. You got to hand it to the guy, because I know that it must sting still to this day to get that close, because that squad was incredible, that Pacers team that they had. In any other year, you could absolutely see them going to the finals and winning. But it just it goes to show just how powerful that Bulls team was.
Interviewing Reggie as somebody to play with him, and I was trying to initially get him to interview for this Doc Jacoby, and he didn't want to do it. It was too much pain. So why so much like time on this for these last two to try to really just, simmer what was happening as it related to the tough matchup that ended up being the Pacers led by Reggie Miller?
We knew going in we were going to devote an entire episode to this because that series was so iconic. That's only one of 2 times that the Bulls were brought to 7 games in all their championship runs. And if you talk to those guys now, I think Wennington said in the show, that was the hardest series. And Michael said that besides the Pistons, those Pacers teams were the hardest teams that we had to beat. So they had enormous respect for these guys. I knew that going in, that they had enormous respect for the Pacers, especially of that season. And that there were so many moments in that series, highlighted, of course, by Game 4 and the shot that Reggie hit. But that's one of those things. It was like the timeout in the Fab Five or WrestleMania 3 and Andre the Giant. You just want to break down what happened in the huddle, what happened on the court, the push-off heard around the world. We all know that happened. For Reggie to acknowledge it, I thought was really candid.
He said a slight push, just a little push.
Yeah, he wanted to put the pressure on the refs. I love him saying he wanted to put the pressure on the refs. No,
he always said that, Jacoby. He always said that. Set a dirty screen. You can hack them. The refs is not going to call it to decide the game.
Especially
that's how different Jason the game was.
In the waning seconds, they're not going to call a push off before he even gets the ball. I don't care if it's Michael or if it's Bill Russell or if it's Austin Crozier. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. Respect to Austin, but it doesn't matter who it is. You're not going to get that call. He had said that was supposed to be in Jalen. You were in the huddle, so that was supposed to be a curl. He was coming off of a curl and then was supposed to just improvise from there. If they had the shot, take it. If not, dish it off. And you guys probably had a second option. And he decided in the moment, no, I'm going to get this and I'm shooting this ball. So, I remember watching that and I remember being frustrated because I wanted the Bulls to win, not you guys. And I remember being frustrated by Reggie's dance because I didn't know he had a bad ankle. I just thought he was hopping around like a ballerina. I was like, oh, look at this guy. So it's fascinating. It's when you get a chance to actually ask the questions that you wanted to ask as a fan in the moment. That's the peak of the luckiness of the job that I have, is that I get to sit there and try and break it down. Now, you took it a step further, as you always do, and said, go to Larry Bird and show that stoic demeanor and he never flinches. He just glances up.
That is crazy, right?
Yep. He knew. And he was a millimeter from being right. That, I mean, you're not going to see many shots at the buzzer, especially from 35 feet.
A double pump 3.
Rim in and out like that. So you're the one though who pointed that out. I mean, we probably would have showed that, but I never would have known that little detail of I didn't remember that shot of Larry being completely stone faced. But it just shows you his knowledge of the game. That guy was playing chess, and most other people were playing checkers.
Of course. And one of the best things about reliving all this, even as someone who's an intense NBA fan like myself that watched all these things live, is you kind of forget how close that Jordan shot was to banking in. And when you watched it during the documentary, it was literally in the hoop and then rimmed out. You just remember Reggie Miller's shot. You just remember the Reggie Miller shot.
You know what I mean? That was off. He missed it.
Please. He did miss it. But then, of course, they did go on to win. Another thing that's so great about this documentary is we've all seen the games, but what we haven't seen before is the post game and the locker room and this footage that sort of was the foundation of this documentary. And after this series, just the relief of the Bulls and the satisfaction, it had sort of like a championship celebration sort of a feel. It kind of felt a little bit like your Red Sox being the Yankees and then going on to beat the Cardinals was sort of like a secondary thought. Watching this and sort of cutting this, did you feel that? Did you feel that they sort of like got to the top of the mountain in the Eastern Conference, not necessarily with the championship?
Yeah, it's one of the few times in all of the footage, either in 97, 98 or prior to that, that I had ever seen that office that Michael had off of the locker room tense. Because even when you skip ahead to episode 10, you see him on the day of the game, he's loose. Like it's just, he's got this preternatural gift. He just kind of like lives in the moment. But there was clearly tension in that locker room before Game 7, because you know, I remember watching that and being nervous. Like, this could be the last time we ever get to see Michael Jordan play basketball. And you know it went through his head. But normally that office is loose. He's handing out tickets to people. There's visitors coming in. They're joking with each other. The TV's on. This was like, as they said, nut crunching time. And you could barely hear a pin drop in that office. So to see that footage, it just kind of underlined like how tense this was. And then the relief afterwards. It's like Michael said, you know, when he walks in that locker room and says, this shit is hard, you can hear the relief in his voice. You can see it on his face. He's elated. It's almost like a celebration that you would see after a finals victory. It's him going around guy by guy by guy and congratulating him, saying, what's up, D-Rod? And I think he said to Kerr, way to make the shots. I mean, he is so ecstatic that they have made it this far. And this is the same Michael who a few weeks earlier said, watch out, we may not lose another game. I think even he didn't understand how difficult that postseason was going to be. And, of course, at that point, the next day, they had to get on a plane and fly to Utah to face the Jazz, who have home court, are better than they were last season in a tough finals, and have had a week to rest. And the Bulls have zero rest.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.